Hi, Caitlin. I'm so excited that you're here and we're going to have an epic conversation today. I can already tell.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I am excited and honored to be here.
Yay. Okay, so what I want everybody listening or watching to know is that I've been a fan of yours for a while now, probably like at least 2 years, just watching and, like stalking and absorbing all the things that you share. And I don't know, something happened where I just decided to reach out to you and ask you to be a guest. And I would love for us to first just start with how you got to do the work that you do, because the work you do is very specific, it's very profound, it's very deep, intensive, and I'd love to just hear your journey to this place.
Yeah, thank you. It has been, my work and the way that I bring it forward and the containers that I create and the frameworks that I create are a reverse engineering of what I went through in my healing journey.
Okay.
And what I mean by this is I had early childhood physical abuse, domestic violence, physical trauma from having horses and being a cowgirl and like living that lifestyle of shut everything down, don't feel, numb out, push hard, work hard. And that was, move through some healing layers, an abusive relationship. And then in 2018, my youngest sister suicided. And that was really the catalyst to my healing in a way that I was able to really be led to my purpose. And that came with, really starting to ask the question of like, why would my sister actually want to die? And, at the time I was looking for something to blame or someone to blame. And my dad and pharmaceuticals were good things to lay that blame on. I know it's much more complex now. But at the time that was what I really started to look at. And for me, it started to give me permission to look at how just validate that traumatic experiences from early childhood and beyond impact our physiology, impact our health. And I made this decision one day in a park when I had this wave of anger come over me that this lady yelled at me for having my dog off the leash, and I wanted to go bash her windshield in with a stick. And I was just like so angry. And of course, it wasn't about her. This was 3 months after my sister had died, just in the grief and the anger. But I also had this very divine intervention of like, your life is either going to look like this and you're going to go down this continue the path of anger and darkness, or you're going to figure this out and process your feelings, your emotions, and, ultimately heal. And so I started attending a yoga class very regularly. I found yin yoga, which was incredibly life-changing. And then I started to meet these teachers and practitioners who became really big supports on my journey with my body, because I always believed in body work. That was the one thing that resolved my chronic low back pain and sciatica when I was 22. And it was something that I was just naturally drawn to.
Okay.
And eventually I heard there's this thing called pelvic work. And I was like, like I believe in body work, and I didn't know that we could have pelvic body work. And numbness during sex was something that was always this underlying pattern that I was like, hopefully, maybe this meditation, maybe this yoga practice, maybe this Rolfing session, like one of these things is going to just, magically fix it.
Yeah.
And so when I found pelvic care, that was what started to really spark my interest in a different way, because as far as sharing this goes, because I was finally learning about my body and about, my menstrual cycle, which had always been painful, and just having this very basic understanding of what was going on inside my body was so revolutionary that I was like, we women, we should be learning this when we're in first grade. Like, I didn't like math and science and all of that. Like, why weren't we learning this, which is a science?
Yes.
And from there, it was, I was a corporate executive assistant in a role that I loved and something I had been doing for 20 years, because I started I was an admin for my dad when I was like 11. I helped in his office. And so it was just kind of an unfolding of like, okay, I'm really going to do this. And what does that look like? And my prayer or my intention in doing it was always, okay, how do I take a woman on this journey from where I have been or experience the spectrum of going from angry and numbed out and carrying so many burdens that are even hers, that she hasn't had a space to process them or tools to process them, into the version of me that was ready to speak up and share. And using my voice was so challenging in so many aspects of my life. And to really explore this full spectrum, that's when I started to reverse engineer, like, okay, this is how I felt in my body. And then I started to understand the science of why that was working. And
Mhm.
this is a very different approach than I think most practitioners go through, because they often learn about the work and then they feel it. And I felt it in my body for 10 plus years and the trajectory that took. And then I plugged the science and the anatomy and the physiology and like understanding why it works, so that when I hold women now on this journey, every single facet of it is intended to honor and support the feminine nervous system in
Mhm.
being able to unravel and transform sustainably. And
Mhm.
whether, that's something work we're doing online, which is how I support most of my clients, or in person, it's always the same arc, if you will, of that really, again, honoring the nervous system along the way. So that's how I arrived here.
I love it. That's amazing. So, can you share a little bit about what pelvic work is and also what is the difference or what's unique about the female nervous system?
Yeah, absolutely. So to me, pelvic work, step one is remembering we have a pelvis
Yeah.
and just honoring that this is a space in our body. Just like our skull and our face, it's literally, even though it's so powerful and sacred and incredible, it's still another place in our body. And
Mhm.
so that diffusion of any charge that we carry is important, because just thinking about the pelvis can bring up all kinds of layers of shame, taboo, confusion around who needs pelvic care and who needs pelvic work, which is everyone with a pelvis.
Mhm.
And it's also not, pelvic work is working with the body with the pelvis in mind. So it's not inherently hands-on intravaginal or intraanal body work. That's like the pinnacle of it.
Mhm.
But all of our abdominal muscles attached to our pelvis,
Yeah.
all of our leg muscles attached to our pelvis, our fascial structure, which is a connective tissue that runs from head to toe and wraps every single nerve, every single muscle cell, every single organ, bone in a continuous, like a whole body spider web. Anytime we're working with that, we are inherently affecting the whole structure. And our
Yeah.
pelvis holds, because it's our center, she holds any compensation pattern that we've carried through our life. And a
Mhm.
compensation pattern is an example of, like, if you hurt your knee and you were on crutches or you kind of limped around and you adjust yourself, that's a compensation pattern.
Yeah.
And the fascial structure creates patterns inside our body in a structural way that holds us as straight as possible in gravity. And it's also sensory and receptive. So
Mhm.
it receives information from around us and from within us.
Mhm.
And it is the most innervated, meaning it has the most nerves of any tissue in the body.
Wow.
It has 6 times as many nerves as muscle. The muscles and the nerves wouldn't even work if it weren't for the fascia.
Mhm.
And it's not something that is studied in the Western medical system and in a lot of holistic systems. I've worked with Italian researchers to go deep into the fascial research because it's not mainstream. And
Yeah.
I believe fully that that is because it's such a key component in our health. And we can address almost any chronic symptom through honoring it the right way. And
Mhm.
that is a major problem for the current medical wellness industry, right? From big
Yeah.
pharma, insurance, big medicine, it's all connected. So there's my conspiracy around why we don't necessarily
Love
learn
it.
about it.
There's so much we don't learn about. I'm not surprised that we don't learn about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a huge piece as a precursor to the nervous system, because again, our
Mhm.
nervous system is a structure. it is wrapped in fascia. And if our fascia is holding the imprints of trauma, scars, injuries, even from falling on your bike, okay, that's a trauma. C-sections, hysterectomies, laparoscopic surgeries, all of these experiences that we have through life impact our fascial structure and impact our nervous system, because the fascial structure is receiving the information that these tissues, or the nerves are receiving the information that the fascia holds, which is everything throughout our life. And the female nervous system in particular, there's so many layers to it, but I think one that is most important to name is that being a woman in this world comes with a inherent lack of safety. If we think about, oh, is it okay for me to dress like this? Am I okay walking to my car? Someone walk me to my car. Look, there's a creepy van across the street. Maybe I'm not going to walk by myself. All these little things that just seem like smart and normal for us to do impact our perception of safety in the world.
Yeah.
Which then in turn, our body, our nervous system is in this constant hypervigilant. Yeah. Then we bring in, the wellness protocols that are like a million check boxes long, and the fear that we carry in our body, the fear that is perpetuated about the female body through big medicine and through ancestral trauma. And, it can feel like so much. And the last thing I want to name is that the cervix is touched. Our cervix is the base of our uterus. That is touched by the vagus nerve. And when we carry traumatic experiences from sexual assault, sex that we had that didn't feel consensual, that we said yes, that our body was a no to, things like pap smears and LEEP procedures and biopsies and IUD insertion, all of these things that are so common, that information is being sent directly to our brain. And there are studies, there are a lot of studies, of course, but there is one study in particular that did a MRI on women who had total spinal cord injuries. So their spinal cord was severed and they had cervical orgasms while they were in this MRI, and their brain lit up. So they were highlighting this direct connection from cervix to brain.
Interesting.
And it's supported by a couple of other studies that talk about the cervix being touched by the vagus nerve, but it's an important piece that, and I know that to be true because I can feel it and sense it in my own body, but it's a really important piece as far as feeling really, truly, deeply safe in our body, which is ultimately what healing is, a pathway to, and how that is, when our pelvis is then tabbed and we learn like we don't have pelvic hair, we don't look at our pelvis or think about it except for sex, having babies, or if we have a problem, then we can have a lot of built up memory and emotion. And on top of this, anytime we go through an experience that makes us go, that reaction is held in our pelvic diaphragm and pelvic floor and cervix and diaphragms that are up in our chest area. And so that it's like this whole body experience and when we go through life like this, we're carrying all of that. So my work is about unraveling that and allowing women to finally take that bone deep sigh of relief and release that leads to a profound sense of safety and stability and inner resource.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
So a lot was going through my mind as you were
Yeah.
saying this. What I want to get into how you do the work, but can we talk a little bit about why women are so disconnected this is my personal opinion or my experience. It's almost like women will do anything else you tell them to do to heal or be well or look the way they want to look or whatever. But when it comes to really facing that deeper work and connecting with themselves, it's like so hard for so many women to actually do it. And that has been for me, like I haven't done the work that you do, but the work that's made the most profound shifts in my life are me really doing the deep somatic work and releasing of things that I know are like have been imprinted on my body and in my body. You know what I mean? And those have been the things that have made the most shifts. Like I do lots of other things, but that has really been the thing that has made me feel the most safe and the most free up to this point in my life. And I wonder if you can share a little bit for some of the women listening in who are maybe on a journey, right? And they're not quite there, of why you think that is or what you've observed.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really want to just honor, any place on the journey that just tuning into this is an initiation and taking into consideration really coming into deep relationship with one's body. Because the thing with the body is that she only reveals truth.
Yeah.
She's not going to take you on this story loop and help you figure out why it is and let you loop in circles and circles and circles and talk about your traumas forevermore. You will touch the layers and she'll just release them. And this is the thing that I think is both, of course, such beautiful wisdom of our body, but also so unfortunate with so many other modalities is that there's this reliving of trauma that happens. And then women are extra, they have that plus the fear of their body that comes with just being incarnated in a human female form. And there's this misconception that it's going to be like you have to relive every single trauma that we process. I can tell you that is for sure not the case.
Yeah.
And, I just worked with a woman for 8+ hours and we cleared lifetimes of trauma and holding patterns and things around self-expression. And she didn't relive everything that we cleared. It just happens. Yeah. And that being said, if something does come up, we honor it.
Right.
And it's going to be what is relevant and it's going to be what is important for us to know. And when we are doing it, the way that my work is designed is to do this in a way where, first of all, we're working with the layers of our body and our emotions that we actually have the capacity for.
Yes.
And we're not chasing after the deepest, darkest thing when we actually can't even hold that or hold ourselves through it. And as we go deeper into the body physically through the tissues, we are improving the health of our nervous system. Because the nervous system as a structure needs blood flow, it needs nutrients, it needs fluidity, it needs to be able to move through the fascia or it's going to be painful or numb.
Yeah.
And when we honor our tissues and work with our physical, it's like very intentional, high level self massage. When we do that, we are slowly going deeper and deeper, bringing blood flow, bringing lymph flow, which that's all you need for healing is blood flow to spaces. And that is A, flushing out what is not serving us energetically, physically. And B, it is supporting us in being vibrant enough, healthy enough to actually have the capacity to process bigger emotions.
Yes.
And to actually feel. And it's not this thing of like go deep and fast and hard as much as you can to prove something. It's actually this gradual and gentle. It's so gentle.
Yeah.
So gentle that most women will be like, it's too simple, too easy, because we think that healing is going to look like trauma or that it should, or we're punishing ourselves, right? And we believe we deserve to suffer. Your
Or
body
healing
doesn't
in
think
itself
that.
is a lot of times I find, and it's not that they're saying this out loud, but it's almost like healing in itself is traumatizing.
Yes. If healing is feeling traumatizing, it's not healing.
Yeah.
And completing healing processes is the reason that going slow and gently is so important, is because it actually gives time for processes to complete. If we're giving another thing, another thing, another thing in our body and our nervous system, that all our body and nervous system are going to be doing is like, what's she coming at me with next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? Instead of deeply receiving and then having spaciousness for that catalyst event, which is the healing session or the practice with yourself, that catalyst event to allow the healing to continue to unfurl. It's so gentle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So, ladies, you don't need to be scared to heal.
It's like ancient, sacred priestess remembrance of tending to these sacred vessels, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard of belief code, like body code, belief code. So this is like something I'm obsessed with, and it's made a profound impact. And it's what I have found is that nothing comes up for me that I'm not able to truly like hold and handle processing through. Like in my mind, right? Cuz I'm like, very driven, very goal oriented, very like let's get it done. And so in my mind I'm like, yeah, let's just dig it all out and just root it all out. but my body will only give me the amount of information that I can very successfully and safely like process and release or neutralize at that time. And I've learned to just lean into that process. And so I have, hard things have come up that I didn't even realize had happened. I had an inkling or whatever, and I've gotten confirmations through my healing. But by the time I got to that place, I was like 100% ready to receive it, understand it, like, and release it, be released from it. Right.
Exactly.
And so I want to say that as, a word of encouragement because, um, it doesn't have to be traumatizing, like to go through healing and to release things, from your, I don't even know what you would call it, like the imprints that have been made in your psyche and your subconscious and your nervous system, your spirit, right? Your body. It doesn't have to be traumatic. It's not always easy, but it doesn't have to be like this traumatic thing. And I know that that it's been a really beautiful process for me through some of the different modalities that I've used. And so I'm excited for you to share a little bit about like how you do this work, right? I know that there's like, because I've watched you, right? There's like you and your ladies prepare, and then sometimes you meet with people in person.
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I come at this because I don't have like a framework that I'm following from somebody else. This is my method that has worked in curing multiple chronic symptoms in my body and led me to my purpose and ultimately brought me here.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't one thing that worked. It was a combination of mindset and emotional mastery. It was a willingness to an interest in knowing myself more deeply,
Yeah.
and it was some hands-on body work
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of self-body work with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And, I really look at the way that a story, an emotion, a pattern in a life is held in the body. Because
Mm-hmm.
our fascial structure develops just like our subconscious by the age of 7.
Mm-hmm.
So the fascial, I call this the core fascial structure,
Okay.
is kind of, and it continues to move and morph and compensate and everything for us. But there is this core pattern.
Yeah.
And we hear a lot about subconscious reprogramming, but no amount of subconscious reprogramming, somatic release, energy work, anything is going to change the fascial structure except for reorganizing the fascia at a
Yeah.
physical level. And this is a key piece to the work that I do with women, because this is also where our body armor lies. And a lot of women I work with, they have de-armored and de-armored and de-armored and de-armored, but they haven't created the internal scaffolding to actually hold themselves in a world that has required them to honor to armor.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just try to release the external piece. We have to do this internal work first to really be convicted in who we are and resourced in who we are, so that we are able to walk through the world more vulnerably
Yeah.
because we have evidence that we need that structure, right? That
Yes.
armoring. So that's a really big piece of the work, and the progression of the work that we do is that knowing thyself and having compassion for oneself and one's journey. And because each woman is working and being led by her own body, every journey is unique. So I can guide 50 women in the same practice, and they're all going to have something unique come forward because that's their story and their body and their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I hold so much space for that. No one's journey should look like mine or someone else's. They can have similar threads and similar intentions, but it's a journey to self expression in movement, in voice, in power.
Mm-hmm.
And through that journey, I'm also tracking the autonomic nervous system and what is needed in the body to support the autonomic nervous system, and to honor that every step of the way. The
Mm.
autonomic nervous system is the branch of the nervous system that contains fight or flight mode, rest digest mode, fawn mode. So this is, a lot of people know the vagus nerve. That's one component to it. And this is the nervous system portion that governs everything we don't think about doing.
Yeah.
So everything from hormones to, which is a rabbit hole you can just spiral down forevermore. um, mental health, depression, anxiety, our serotonin made in our gut, that is all impacted by our autonomic nervous system. And heartbeat, breath, like everything, again, everything we do, that is not something that we think about. Cellular reproduction, metabolism, it's
Mm-hmm.
all governed by the autonomic nervous system. So my idea is, hey, if we get this autonomic nervous system working in our, I mean, it's always working in our favor, but if we get on board so that we're really honoring it, then we have this domino effect of healing.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to go down all these rabbit holes. You're just honoring that nervous system and bringing that into homeostasis, and
Mm-hmm.
literally everything falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
And we do eventually get to the pelvis, whether we're working online or in person. And the reason that the pelvis is such a key component of that is because it does contain a diaphragm, the pelvic, often called pelvic floor. It is a diaphragm, and it is mostly fascia. So I've done cadaver dissections to confirm these things. It's not like the muscular image that you see in the books. It is mostly a fascial structure that contains a ton of autonomic nerves. If
Mm-hmm.
we are holding freeze in the pelvis, which most women's pelvic diaphragms in this world do not function properly and do not move with their breath. Our pelvic diaphragm should be moving down when we breathe in and up when we breathe out with every single breath. And this provides a internal massage to all of our reproductive and digestive organs. And it's like this gentle rocking motion that, is inherently this soothing experience for our nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a big component of eventually getting to that point. Eventually.
Yeah.
Pelvic work, hands in, which is hands in, really it's finger or two inside your own vagina or my hand inside someone's vagina.
Mm-hmm.
It is not necessary to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it is incredibly traumatizing and creates massive issues if someone is just doing it because they think that that's gonna be the thing to fix.
Yeah, I could imagine.
If you're bracing yourself, if you're like, oh my God, and a lot of sessions are, especially in the medical system, we're talking 45 minutes in and out. I
Mm-hmm.
see women, if I'm going to work inside their body, we are in a 8-hour container.
Mm-hmm.
And we have prepared I require online preparations. This is more mentorship than
Mm-hmm.
just a body work session because I'm not just addressing surface level tension patterns. I'm
Yeah.
addressing the patterns of freeze that have been there since you were conceived. And
Yeah.
that is not just this simple release, it's actually a taking away the compensation patterns that have kept you feeling safe in the world. And so if we just go in and do that, it could be incredibly destabilizing for somebody.
Yeah.
This is why that's 1% of the work that I do
Mm-hmm.
because there's just so much more to honoring our womb and our pelvis that are not this, um, you know, I've got to be fixed type mentality. Of course, there are practitioners out there that do that. And if that you just want a body work session and you're like, I don't want to touch my own body, that's great. But that's just
Well,
not
I
what I
mean,
do.
it's great to a degree, but if you don't want to connect with your own body, there's something to be said for that, right? Like, I understand maybe not everybody wants to work inside of their own vagina, but there's a certain level of needing to connect with yourself to heal.
Exactly. And, no matter where someone is at, listeners, you're at with that
Yeah.
idea of working inside your own vagina, when we have normalized things like medical treatments such as pap smears, when we've let partners inside of us and we ourselves are not touching that space, it
Mm,
is really important to consider why. Because there is no
totally.
one else in the world who has a right to touch your body except for you.
Right.
There is no judgment, there is no shame. The first time I did this work on myself, it was an incredible initiation.
Yeah.
And it is why I'm so passionate about really truly preparing women to be able to do it in an empowered way.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
our own hands do work that no one else in the world can replicate. Because our own hands are the only thing that can complete the loop of our nervous system and
Mhm.
complete that circuitry. And that completes loops of patterns, of behaviors, of symptoms. It is a literal completion, but you have to be willing to touch your own body.
Mhm.
And, of course, there's so many reasons and narratives and religious trauma and ancestral trauma and all of that that say no.
Yeah.
But that's exactly why we need to do it, because this is a reclamation of the feminine and liberation of our true self from the patterns and agreements that we have just subscribed to, oftentimes unknowingly.
Totally. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this conversation. Okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit for a second. I know what armoring is, but I don't think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Can you explain that and what it is and how that can affect our health long term? I mean, it can be very detrimental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So armoring is a protective mechanism that is both physical and energetic in our body.
Mm-hmm.
And the layer of our body that I really look at when it comes to armoring is the superficial fascia,
Mm-hmm.
which is a layer of fascia that lives just underneath our skin and kind of interwoven into our fat tissue that lives above. So then below that is our start to get into our muscle or like our digestive organs and everything. It's kind of like if you picture yourself in a body stocking,
Mm-hmm.
full body stocking, that's your superficial fascia under your skin.
Okay.
This tissue has the most nerves behind your skin. So it goes skin number one, superficial fascia number two. A lot of these nerves are sympathetic
Mm-hmm.
nerves. So if we are trying to rush through, if we're going too fast, too soon, if we're using tools to get through our tissues, those can serve a purpose. They don't not serve a purpose. If we want to de-armor ourselves sustainably in a way that actually sticks, it's important to honor this layer of superficial fascia.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that armoring can show up is physical numbness,
Mm-hmm.
emotional numbness,
Mm-hmm.
pain. Pain is a protective mechanism because if we're in pain, there's things that we won't do or we won't allow ourselves to do or we won't allow into our lives. And that can be a way that our body is armoring itself.
Yeah.
It's also energetic. I am a trained ceremonial practitioner and shaman, and the energetic component to this is also quite impactful.
Yeah.
And most symptoms in the body are going to be related to armoring in some way because the patterns that we have picked up, since we were conceived, since we incarnated, these can be from our parents, from genetics, from past lives. If you believe in that, we carry a lot in these bodies. And we also carry all of the gifts and all of the wisdom and the vitality. We are innately vital and vibrant. We are not meant to suffer in these bodies.
Right.
And the armoring, the way that I relate to it now is it's such an invitation and it's such a master teacher because it will encourage us to slow down. It doesn't respond to check all the boxes. This is how I got my A's, accolades, promotions, and everything done in my life. It requires us to slow down if we really desire to master our female body and our female nervous system. We must honor queen fascia in our body. And this comes from honoring those superficial layers, which doesn't mean we're doing not deep work. It's just anatomically, we say superficial towards the surface and deeper towards the middle of our body. So,
Right.
yeah, does that answer kind of the armoring?
And I think I'm honestly fascinated by what you said because my understanding of armoring didn't even go that as deep, although like it connected to what you're saying. But, I remember being a young woman and always holding in my stomach and kind of like keeping my stomach super because I felt fat, right? Or whatever when I was a teenager. Like keeping my stomach firm. And sometimes I have to catch myself now and just say, Andrea, release your stomach.
Good girl.
Like just release it. But it's like so like, it's wired into my fascia right now. And so I'll just do it. Sometimes I'll hold my breath and I'm like, why are you holding your breath? Right? And I know that comes from early childhood. My husband also armors in a similar way. He was like overweight growing up and he would get teased even by his family. And so he would like like kind of suck in and try to hold his stomach together. And he had back surgery. And as he was coming out of anesthesia, and I was talking to him, he's like, I keep wanting to armor. Like I keep wanting this. He's like, and it's gonna hurt my back if I do like my heel. Like, and so he had to keep talking to himself, talking his way through releasing his stomach and not tensing up. And so that's what I thought about when we were talking about armoring, right? Is this wiring that we have, that we do these things that we don't even.
Yeah, and I love you brought the stomach in because abdominal work, that working with our abdomen and our belly is pelvic work
Mm-hmm.
because there is no separation between our pelvic organs and our digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
All of our digestive organs sit on top of our pelvic floor, and it forms this abdominopelvic cavity
Mm-hmm.
from diaphragm below our lungs to the pelvic floor. And our abdominal muscles wrap around our body kind of like a natural corset,
Yeah.
but they aren't meant to be held in all the time.
Yeah.
And deprogramming, deconditioning from this pattern is, just it is dismantling of multi-generational patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And the entity machine that goes after our psyche around body image and body
Yes.
dysmorphia,
It's
and it
insane.
takes up so much space. And I just posted an image recently in a couple of reels. I was in the creek and in my bathing suit, and in one of the images, my belly is just relaxed, and I hadn't thought about it when I did the picture, but then I saw it and I was like, wait, should I post this? Like, is this okay? Because then I can feel the judgment of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes so much energy now. Like if I hold in, I don't know if listeners will be watching this, but if I hold in my belly now, I have to hold my breath, I have to hold my neck, I have to hold my chest. Like I can feel how much work and effort that actually takes. And when we've just
Yes.
done it since we were little girls
Yes.
and everyone does it, we don't even realize how much energy we're using to hold ourselves in. And we can still have, I am strong. I am former cowgirl, like lifted hay
I
bale,
see
do
your
8 hour
delicious
eight
arms.
hour
I just
body
noticed
work
I was
session.
admiring them earlier.
Like I am a strong lady, and it doesn't require having to be like sucked in and six pack. And
Yes.
not that there's anything wrong with that if that's your body type, but to just strive to it, asking ourselves like, why am I willing to conform and assimilate?
Yeah.
And I've had breast implants and explants, so no judgment in any
Yeah.
spectrum of this, but it is something that, we can spend our lives focused on if we look a certain way, and that's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's really but it's so, so liberating to say, wow, I can actually love and accept and like first my belly. And this is part of the reason I teach anatomy, is because when we learn, that this isn't just this black hole of like fat and tissue and lard and like bloating, and we can actually understand the divine intelligence and magic that human physiology is.
Yes.
That for me has been the way that I have been able to unravel so many layers of that body dysmorphia. Is like, my gosh, like there's so much going on in this belly, and it's so amazing. Like life force, creative energy.
Can you share like what some of the, let's just say, the sucking your stomach in your whole life, right? And like I've seen my daughter do it. And I'm like, "Oh, no, and it's the stuff that she's up against right now, being 11 and developing and all these things. And what does that do to your body? Like let's talk about that on like not even a spiritual level right now, but like a fundamental level, when you are armoring, holding in, creating like this pattern of, tension. What does that do to other parts of your body or to your system or you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a great, great pondering. So We have established that the fascia wraps everything in our body individually, include down to the individual muscle cells. When
Mhm.
we suck in over time, there is a constricted pattern. That pattern is going to hold. And there's going to be a constricted pattern around our organs, around our nerves, around our blood vessels. And our abdomen contains about half of our lymph system. So I'm
Mm,
not talking about the count of lymph nodes, to be clear. I'm talking about the system as a whole. Half of it is in our abdomen.
mm,
And so that's a major factor in immune function, vitality, and purification of our vessel and a natural, natural detoxing.
yeah.
Then we have blood flow and organs that need to receive blood flow, including our uterus and our ovaries, which impact hormone function, and our digestive tract that impacts serotonin production and our mental health. And this over time can create digestive issues, menstrual imbalances, fertility challenges, hormonal challenges. Our liver has over 500 functions. So if our liver is compressed in this abdominal cavity that is sucked in all the time, that's going to impact all 500 of those functions.
Mhm.
And then we have the layers of, if our digestive organs are being constricted a lot, they're going to be heavier because they aren't moving the way that they're designed. So it'll just kind of be adhesed
Mm,
and stuck and tight. And what happens over time is that that puts undue pressure, unnecessary pressure on our pelvic floor.
mm,
And over time, if the pelvic floor hasn't already become frozen from being in fight or flight all the time, having a clenched butthole 24/7 in our life, then we're going to have all of this pressure down onto our pelvic floor and it won't be able to move. Then we have pelvic floor dysfunction, pelvic pain, vaginismus, vulvodynia, so connected to the abdomen and the belly. And
mm,
these are conditions that are often, many of these conditions that I have named are often seen as incurable, seen as something that gets to be treated for the rest of your life, and that can just send women on these just incredibly complex and frustrating and challenging journeys that can have a really big impact on our emotional and mental well-being just
mhm.
from the ineffective treatments that are out there.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, now you've proven that your body is out against you. Now you can't figure it out. Now you're taking 100 supplements and doing all these things and you feel exhausted and hypervigilant and you're like just trying to keep up. This is why gentle is actually the way, and
Yeah.
honoring all of this together, and it's sometimes I recognize that it can be like, holy shit, all of this is present. And one can choose to be like, I don't even want to know. Like, I don't want to look at it that much. I don't want to see all of these things, but they will be siloing their healing for as long as they live.
Yes.
Or we can just say, yeah, everything is held in our body,
Yeah.
everything. And we can work with that and optimize it and get to know it and relate with it and have this incredible vessel that was literally woven together to support us bringing our soul gifts to life on our side, with the
Mhm.
power and the vitality to actually give us the energy for that.
Mhm.
And that is the pathway that I have chosen. And it hasn't been easy, but
Mhm.
it's also, I know that being in chronic pain every day also was not easy.
No,
And
it's
I would
not.
much rather much rather confront myself than live in chronic pain or not be able to do the things that I want to do because
Yeah.
of my body being sick. And, this is not, I really want to be clear that there is no shame or judgment in any of this. I have been fully enmeshed in unhealthy addiction and relationship and just, yeah. I promise.
Yeah. No, like
I
you
turned real the
are
other day that this former
yeah.
kid has no judgment against anyone.
I it's just really about challenging people's thinking, right? And opening their minds that there are ways to heal, or there's ways to get to the root, or you can start an epic healing journey and you just have to meet yourself where you are and start there, right? It's like
Yeah,
I was,
people that talk about the root cause healing, and I know there's some inquiry around if that's real, and I think if we're chasing the story that it's an infinite loop that we can send ourselves on, but in the body there are absolutely roots to patterns that we can uproot. And I have seen it, I have felt it in my own body. I work with it with clients, I teach clients how to reach it, and it doesn't require even reliving any of it. The body will just clear it.
yes, absolutely.
And it's like when we allow ourselves the permission to, the piece of this is that it's such an act of self-love and self-compassion to confront one's body, because it holds everything we've carried and everything we've done to it. And that in itself is a journey as well of self-forgiveness and self-love and self-compassion that ripples into every single relationship and interaction that we have in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so if someone is not ready to reach out to you and start in your program, what's one smaller step they can take to start connecting to themselves more
Mhm.
and just really starting to experience themselves as like a first step?
Yep, absolutely. So the first step in any of my containers is creating a beautiful space for yourself.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
call this the nest space or the
Oh.
womb nest, whatever floats your boat. This can
Mhm,
be maybe a room. I have some women who use a closet, some women use their bedroom. But having familiar objects, smells, maybe a essential oil or a candle or a photo of a pet, or whatever, really whatever feels sacred or nourishing or special to you,
mhm,
put it in this space and
mhm,
have this space as your familiar space to come and drop into your body. And this is going to create this safe nest around you
yeah.
so that you have this, it's like, okay, I am safe in this space. Step one. That is going to give your nervous system this, it's like being held. When we are held deeply, we can tell the difference, whether we're aware of it or not, if somebody can like fully hold us, our emotions, our traumas, or whatever, or if we're like, yeah, if I tell you my whole life story, you're going to keel over and I'm going to have to take care of you.
Totally,
And no judgment, it's just different capacities, but you can
totally.
feel that difference in, wow, I'm held here, like they've got me, has got you. So whatever you need with that, then come into your nest space once a day, twice a day,
Mhm,
lay there, listen to your favorite song, like really just be in it. And
mhm,
then the next practice that you can add in, if or when you feel ready, is just one hand on your low belly and one hand on your heart. Soften your jaw. Notice if you're clenching your glutes or your butt or your shoulders, and
mhm,
just take some breaths. And they don't even have to be deep breaths.
mhm,
It can just be breaths. Your body will regulate itself as she feels ready. And you can notice as you be in your nest space how your body starts to instantly drop in.
mm,
And this is foundational to all of the work that I do, because as we add on and we make this progressive journey through our body, through our story, optimizing the function of the autonomic nervous system, we're continuing to layer and layer and layer. And we have the titration of something that is familiar and supportive. And then over time, you become the nest. Your body becomes the nest. And anywhere you go in the world, you can drop into this feeling of safety and security and confidence and power and move through the world in a completely different way.
that's incredible. I love it.
Yeah, everyone needs their nest space.
They do. I already have a nest space that I
Uh,
love.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
and it
my
doesn't have
bed.
to be like you don't feel like, I mean, of course, if you are in the position to like redecorate a room,
Yeah.
paint and do the whole thing, amazing.
Mhm,
But it does not have to be like that. I have clients who travel a lot and they'll have a piece of fabric and a small candle and a essential oil that they bring with them, and they can put it somewhere. So it's just like that grounding, familiar object and smell and
mhm.
environment can be accessed anywhere.
Yeah. So how can people work with you right now? First of all, what's your Instagram handle? I will link it in the show notes, but what's your
My Instagram handle is Caytlyn Dee, CaytlynDee. And the best place, honestly, that after creating a body of work and doing a lot of personal development and coaching and high level mentorship as a client, I created a container called Unity.
Okay.
And this has access to all of my work, all of my programs, all of the practices, all of the, you know, this is like body anatomy stuff that you'd be hard pressed to find in a training, not to brag, but
Okay. I
it's
love it.
good
You
stuff.
should brag.
It's good stuff. And I don't say there's all these things to overwhelm anyone. And this
Yeah.
is something that the experience, the immersive experience, which is essential for the nervous system healing that I'm referring to really get not just a regulation, but a total recalibration in the function of the nervous system. Immersive healing is the fastest way. And so Unity has all of the work and the practices. It also has a community of women who are doing this also. It has audio telegram messages that you can listen to me talk about this work and bring you back into this is possible. This is what I'm doing. I'm here for it. Let's go. And then there's 2 coaching calls per month. So there's a lot to it, but it's not to do everything. It's so that you can receive in this overflow and experience that and know that anywhere you turn, you could spend 5 minutes a day and you're still in the same space, moving towards the same goal, working with your body, mind, spirit, holistically, integratively as one without having to overthink about it. Think it. I've already figured out the the pathway that addresses all of this at once and moves the nervous system. So you get to come in and you have touch points with me through the coaching, through the intake form that I provide so that I can see what people are coming in with and I can leave audio telegrams and say, this is, what course or what module that I would explore for this particular thing. So you don't have to just go in and blindly follow a course, which I think a lot of us are at this point of like, we've done enough of that. So to really come in with the precision and just absolutely love the container. It's the most effective thing that I've ever set up. And it's really geared towards any woman who feels called to this. And it's honoring even a woman who has never touched her own body. I have got you. If you're like, I can't even believe I'm thinking about this but I'm going to do it. And we will start at square one and work our way forward. That's the only place we can start is where we are right now.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. You guys have to go follow her.
Yeah, come on in and reach out. If you have any questions, I'm happy to dialogue. I don't want anyone just to feel pressured or like they have to come in. I'm not here to get anyone. I'm here to help you if I can. And I will be truthful if I can't.
Yeah, totally. And I think, I mean, just your social media, the things that I've learned from even your posts have been incredible, right? Things I've learned about my own body, and I've even forwarded some of your stuff to my husband because he has a lot of fascial and nervous system stuff. And I'm like, we need to find something like this for you.
Yeah, my sister and I hold retreats for couples. Maybe you'll come
Oh,
in.
okay. I love that. So it's just incredible. And I'm really excited that we had this conversation. And I think that it's really needed for every human, but for women, my passion is women, right? I know yours is women. So for women to really reconnect with themselves, like it makes me so sad of how disconnected we can be from ourselves and how much we subscribe to functioning in ways that are so dishonoring to our biology and our spirits. And so the work you're doing is just so amazing. And I'm really thankful that you came on and educated and shared all these different things. And I'm just really grateful that you're doing the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much again for the opportunity. As you can tell, I'm passionate about this work, so I'm honored to be able to share and share with all of your people as well. Thank you all for tuning in.
Absolutely. All right, guys, share this with somebody who needs to hear this and learn these things, and we'll see you in the next episode.